Everybody, we'll go ahead and call the Burleigh County Water Resource District July board meeting to order. When you take roll call, please.
Manager Mitchell.
Here.
Manager Reed.
Here.
Manager Jones. Manager Smith.
I'm here.
Chairman Heidenberger.
Here, we have a quorum. We can continue. Moving on to item 2 this morning, approval of last month's meeting minutes. Any changes or additions to the minutes from last month?
I'll move we accept the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
And a motion by Manager Smith and a second by Manager Reap to approve last month's meeting minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion passes. Minutes are approved. Moving on to approval of this meeting's agenda. Any changes or amendments to the agenda?
I'll move to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Manager Reap and a second by Manager Smith to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion passes. Agenda is approved. Moving on to the next item, comments from members of the public. Mike, do you want to come up? Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Landenberger, and members of the board.
Mike, you want to just state your name?
Yeah, Mike Conley. I'm a Bismarck citizen. I'm also one of the Bismarck City Commissioners. Public comment is actually why I'm going to talk today. I'll give you a little bit of background. In 2020, actually, when it comes to this board, that's when they first started putting your meeting on Dakota Media Access, just because of not having people in the room. So I've actually watched every single meeting since that time, and learned a lot from everybody on this, and it's been appreciative. And I've mentioned it to Chair Landenberger. He actually manages one of the best meetings in all of the government meetings that I've been privy to. But with public comment specifically, I actually had a statewide initiated measure written and ready to go with 25 on a sponsoring committee. Because with open meeting law nationwide, there's 2 reasons for it. It's for transparency and efficient government. And it was always up to the discretion of the chair at that point whether they allowed for public comment at all. It was actually not a right. And actually, when people would go up, say, in front of a school board and say, it's my right to speak, I would get up and say it's actually not a right unless they choose to. Because if we're going to claim we're running by the Constitution, then we actually have to follow what it states. And that was part of the reason for bringing it forward. When Representative Paulson brought Senate Bill 2180 forward, that essentially would have been what the initiated measure was about. And with it passing, we're the first state in the entire country that allows a public comment time by right. And that's very interesting. Does it make us more constitutional or representative? We'll see over time. We vet it in that space. But one of the things when I was going through and talking to different people in the legal areas, when you have a public comment time on, and it says not on the agenda, you actually open it up to the full scrutiny of the federal Constitution, which we've had a couple of times where, say, Ted Cruz or I'm forgetting the other one just recently, to where they actually spoke for hours on a topic completely unrelated to their course of business, which would take you away from that efficient government goal. So by putting it on there, you can speak on any of the line items. And the Senate Bill 2180 actually says the meeting before, any of the items on the meeting before. And every government entity right now is dealing with how they're going to develop their rules for their specific committee. We just adopted ours at the city before. In the 5 years I've been watching your meetings, you've had 2 public comments. I don't think it's going to be a huge detriment to any of the good work that you all do. The one thing that I actually testified at the state about is the average person speaks 100 to 300 words a minute. So if we are on the side of the people that struggle with communication, if you go at 120, and then during middle school, as far as the research, the reason why they start out with a page and a half essays is it's the average minimum amount of words that it takes to express a comment that people can either build off of or make a decision off of is 600 words. And so 120 goes into 600 words at 5 minutes. And so I've really advocated for that. You can choose any time limit. Below that, in all of the triple blind studies and things that I've looked at, it's like checking a box. People don't have enough time to barely get beyond the greeting and then express themselves. But 5 minutes seems to be a good round point. And then within the law, everything falls back onto the discretion of the chair at that point. And if it's garbage comments, hey, shut it down, please spare us. If it's really good comments and improves the efficiency of the meeting, now we find out what kind of leaders we are at the boards. And so just what I had to say, if anybody has any questions.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. So you think adding something in our agenda that would say, you know, not on the agenda, but still specific to the Burleigh County Water Resource District would cover that?
I would say, because I don't want to step on water with me being in part of the city commission and that, is, and you're part of the county, talk to the county. They've adopted a public comment policy themselves just at their last meeting that's a little different from what the city is, and then we adopted ours last meeting as well.
Okay.
It's something that everybody's kind of working with because it is a different nuance. And I think it's pretty cool that North Dakota is leading, being the first to recognize the citizen with a public comment space.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Mike?
Thank you.
I guess just one comment for your information. It is part of our agenda today is to actually discuss that upcoming policy
Yeah.
that we're going to adopt.
Awesome.
We have a couple options in our packet for people to consider, and I think we also have the Burleigh County Commission's version in there as one other option that got added to our packet too. So
Yeah.
thanks for your comments. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, and truth be told, I was going to speak at the last county meeting, but their meeting actually landed on my 24th wedding anniversary. So my wife gave me a small window, and one of their items went a little too long, so I didn't get to comment during that time.
Thank you, Mike. Yep. Okay. We can then move on to McDowell Dam this morning. Updates on the easement negotiations. Michael, anything?
With the easement negotiations, Travis, would you want to address that particular process? We had conversations with Attorney Bliss as well, but Travis has been in communication with the individuals.
Okay.
Chairman, managers, right now, we have 2 landowners that we're currently in communications with regarding the primary easements that are remaining for this project. One of them has signed and returned the easement documents that they were provided, and the other one I just spoke to yesterday afternoon to do a follow-up on that, and he said that he still has not had a chance to look through those, but he is going to, and then I made myself available to him if he has any questions or needs any additional support on any of that regarding that final easement that we're still working on. So I'll be in touch with him and try to get that prosecuted here so that we can land that final easement that we need for the project.
Okay. Yeah, good news, good work on getting the one signed and
One question, Mr. Chairman. The easement itself says that upon signature that the payment from the Water Resource District would be made for that easement. Obviously, we need to record that as well. So I guess the scenario, if this board wanted to consider payment for that easement at this point, you could do so, but I would hold on payment until you actually record the document so that it's on file.
okay.
So,
Okay. It has been added to our bills for this month,
okay.
so we can at least cut the check. To your point, we can wait till it's filed.
And that to your, yeah, on that aspect, if it's in your agenda and you're willing to approve it, fine. We'll let the chairman and Wendy know when it's actually been recorded.
Yep. Okay. Thanks,
Okay,
Mike.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just as a sidelight, I talked to Wendy earlier about putting on the website a special session, an executive session, should the board need it today. Obviously, it doesn't need it. So I don't think that needs to be on the agenda today.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Anything, Michael, regarding the updated water supply?
From the water supply standpoint, you have a memo in your file, or in the agenda packet, which goes back, it's the long-awaited analysis. I was able to get back in the spreadsheet and update some things. Some of them were actually hand entries from way back when. That's what was missing. When the formulas weren't working, there actually weren't formulas. So I did update that. That is ready to go. With your consensus, I will send a letter to Mr. Bartholomew with DWR that's been completed as his consideration for the extension of the conditional water permit.
Okay.
So
Is there-
otherwise, I'm very happy with the results. Everything looks to be in order. I did add some things to the memorandum that weren't there before, so I believe it's well documented.
Yep. Any questions for Michael on that? Consensus to send that to the DWR?
Yep.
As presented? Okay. You have consensus, Michael?
Thank you.
Next item, bank stabilization and the trail protection project. Does Travis want to give an update?
Yeah, we'll let Travis update. He's been out in the field and watched the ongoing construction, so.
Good morning again.
Morning.
The bank stabilization project has gone very well. The contractor showed up on Monday around midday to begin setting up and starting work on the project, and proceeded with it very effectively. So right now, as of about 2-3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, all of the planned quantity of the rock has been placed. He still has to do his cleanup and reclamation yet, and then just do his touch up for the seeding, et cetera. He's got to loosen the soil a little bit where it was compacted. But one of the items that was noted yesterday was that the planned quantity, or the planned stretch of bank that was going to be stabilized was approximately 200 feet, and so that has been accomplished. But now I've been made aware of that a little bit farther, just to the west of it. There's some additional pieces that have broken off, a little bit of erosion that's occurred there that I was not aware of when we had originally designed this project. And Dave Robinson made David Bowman, who's the contractor, aware of that yesterday when he was out there visiting. They've got another lower trail that kind of follows the water's edge that they've had to move back a couple of times just because of some of these failures, just to give that a little bit of room. So if we could address those as well, there's a couple of spots there that with the tall grass and such, it just wasn't readily apparent when I initially reviewed this site. But I went over there and looked at it a little bit closer, and yeah, there's a couple of chunks where it's broken off. And this project, being that it came in a little bit more than $20,000 under budget, and then we're also probably not going to be using the full plant quantity for the Class 13 gravel that we're going to be applying as well, because the gravel roads have held up really well to the traffic for hauling the rock in, because it wasn't that many loads of rock. It was maybe 20 loads. So we've got some additional funding available, or at least I would think that there would be some room in the budget for some additional rock placement if it was deemed necessary for some additional stabilization to extend the project a little bit farther to the west to hit those additional areas that are failing. And Dave Robinson can describe some of that a little bit better to you, what he's seen there, and then what he's had to do to address that, or I guess to compensate for that, to adjust the trail over. And so right now, what I was looking to do is see if the board would be interested in adding a little bit to the project and extending a little bit farther to the west. As it is right now, we could hypothetically add about 190 tons of rock to the project and still be within what was originally budgeted for this, at least per our original OPC, original estimate for this project, and still be within what the cost that we had anticipated for this project to be. So we can be a little bit discretionary on exactly how much we want to add to that. And like I said, I'll let Dave speak to about how far he thinks that we might want to go if we were going to extend this a little bit, since we already have everybody there. And frankly, right now, the contractor is done placing the rock from the original project, and they're basically waiting on me to let them know if the board authorizes some additional rock placement a little bit farther to the west for that work. Otherwise, he's just going to begin work on his reclamation and start getting things buttoned up, and then he'll probably get that accomplished this week, possibly come back next week just to do the final seeding. But But for right now, he's a little bit in a holding pattern until we make a decision on that. So I don't know if Dave would be interested in speaking to the,
Mr. Chairman, Travis, and so it certainly seems reasonable and seems logical to do so, I agree. Is it would it be continuous with the other already placed drop? And then
Yes, it would
what's-
just be-
What would be the additional length approximately?
the quantities that I've run would, we could add up to maybe another 100 feet to the 200 feet that we've already rocked on there. And I think it would be more than enough because that bank is even lower than the stuff that we place. So it wouldn't take as much rock per linear foot of placement. And so frankly, we could easily do another 100 feet and still be within the costs that I had scoped out for this project.
And I'm not so much worried about the cost. I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right, so it's, protected all the areas that need to be
Sure.
protected, I guess. And so, even if we have a quantity overrun, I think we're still okay. What's it, 25% variation that's allowed in the contracts typically?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know the exact length about how far they would want to go to get that areas or just how far down the line it is where that, failure has happened. Because like I said, I found a few chunks that have broken off. And just from my observation, it seems to be maybe another 100 feet. They would have to be, removing a couple of little shrubs and stuff to get to that, and kind of just clearing it so that they can get in there to do the work. So, but that would be included in the original clearing and grubbing for the project because there was not really much clearing and grubbing necessary for this. So I think that would be allowable. The contractor wouldn't have any problem doing that. Just a couple of little shrubs to move and then do that additional stabilization down the line, and we could see exactly how far we need to go and make sure we cover it to that point.
Okay. Any other questions? Dave, do you want to add anything to the discussion?
Chairman Landenberger, managers, talking with David, we agree wholeheartedly. I think the best practice would probably be go as far as we think we need to go to make sure we're going to stop erosion. If and I don't want to spend the money willy-nilly, I want to be responsible with the funds, but if we say, well, the budget amount or the OPC gives us 100 feet and really we need to go 125 feet, I hope that we could go that far.
Yeah.
I don't see the point of going and then stopping short and then we have a problem and we'll have to come back again. So if we can go as far as deemed necessary between engineer and contractor and David's eye, I think that would be the best practice for us to move forward so we can get this thing done right and get it stabilized so we hopefully don't have issues down the road.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? If not, what are the wishes of the board? Do you want to, I'm not sure if this needs a motion or just more of a consensus, but we have the budget amount.
Yeah, I don't know if it needs a motion or not. It certainly makes sense to me to do
Yeah.
it and then to do it right from an engineering
I
perspective.
agree. You had the
Yeah.
contractor out there. It was a really good price for the rock.
Yeah, I'm
And
in agreement.
they're an identify. Okay. Okay. All right. Travis, does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you can report back once the final quantities have been established and get a kind of a final change order that we can.
Yeah, we can do that, and then either myself or Dave Robinson could go out there and identify exactly where we want to have our stopping point be on that, just to make sure that we cover those small failures that are occurring in there, and we can kind of get everything sealed up good and have a good finished project. So,
Okay. Is there any updates we gotta do for from a regulatory standpoint or permitting then as far as what that final footprint looks like?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to take a quick look at that. I believe the permit covers it. Typically, it's a number of cubic yards per lineal foot, and then there's a lineal foot
Yeah.
limitation.
Okay.
I think it's 300 actually was the limitation on the nationwide permit, but we'll double check that and make sure that we're within that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned change order. Maybe we do need to do a change order, and so maybe we need a motion just to authorize the chairman to sign a change order if you have to prepare one, even if it's retroactive to the fact.
That's a good point. That way.
Yeah,
you
the
don't
change
have to wait
order
till
will.
next month.
Will encompass what our final placed quantity is, because we don't know that for sure, because when you're hauling rock, it's hard to get it right to the
Right.
exact amount. So when our final load tickets come in, we'll see what our final tonnage was, and then change order will adjust the quantity in the project so
Okay.
that that balances out the contract amount.
Okay. So to that point, I think.
Yeah, I make a motion that authorizes the chairman's signature on a change order subject to the conditions we discussed here today.
Quantities and- Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Your second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Manager Reap, a second by Manager Smith, to have the chairman authorize it and sign a change order for the additional rock placement at McDowell Dam for the bank stabilization project. Okay, since Wendy gets that typed in, we'll do a roll call vote.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, any updates, Michael, regarding the DWR cost share
Yeah,
request?
a couple items on that one, Mr. Chairman. Travis is working with Beth. We submitted the application for reimbursement. Actually, it was a relatively small amount because we didn't include the easements. Going back historically, way back when, I don't remember whether there's a policy change or something, because easements typically are not an eligible item. And the DWR came back and Beth said, well, they are an eligible item for dams, basically for the embankment and/or the flood pool. And of course, this is a little unique because it's not for either one of those. It's actually for a pipeline to supply water to the facility. They went back internally and looked at it and said, yes, they are eligible. So what we did is we stepped back one request. In other words, typically a timeline, you can go back a year. We stepped back one request and included all the easement costs up to that point in there. And that's why the reimbursement amount is, $29,900. There's a remaining balance of $7,100. Beth did note that if you needed to expand that amount to complete the preliminary engineering, you could go through well, they have a certain percentage that they can go above, but you'd have to go through the web grants process again. From that perspective, I do not believe you need to do that at this point. We're probably, Travis and I were talking, probably 75, 80% through the preliminary engineering. We would now switch, once the easements are in place, to go through to final design and actually ask for the cost share for final design. So this reimbursement obviously is larger than previously anticipated because of the ability to request cost share for the easements. The remaining $7,100, I'm sure, will be covered, in cost share for some of the final closeout costs for the securing the easements. So I'm very comfortable now with that process, and it was nice for the DWR to point out that change.
Yep.
So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Along those lines, are we looking at the Outdoor Heritage Fund as well? And when's the next round of applications due?
Have not looked at the dates on that just yet.
Okay.
Obviously, one of their things that they asked for was that we have the easements in hand. So once they were signed, we will look at the dates and get on their next agenda. The conversation at the time with DWR was to actually do a combination of the Outdoor Heritage Fund and DWR funds.
Yep.
There's a percentage and weighting between the two that would actually occur. Should one approve and the other not approve or whatever, so. But we will start that process once the final easement's
I
recorded.
imagine we can just kind of resurrect what we had submitted before. And
Correct.
Very sure.
We'll have to do updated, obviously, on the cost side for OPC and stuff, so.
Okay, Dave, you have any idea like, when that Outdoor Heritage Fund? Yeah. Well, we'll look into it.
I'm thinking that it's in the September, October, right?
Okay, so it might time out pretty well.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we would go and design possibly construction next spring,
Yep.
depending upon how it works out.
Okay, thank you. Any updates on the emergency action plan?
No, I still haven't talked to Mary as to, when she wants to do that. I'm suspecting it'll probably be fall,
Okay,
so.
all right. Okay, Dave, want some updates this morning for the board? A lot going on.
Chairman Landenberger and commissioners, or managers, sorry. Just quick updates. Since we last talked, traffic counts and trail usage for June were at 10,846 for traffic, and trail usage was 695. I believe that's up from the last report that I gave you in May, which is typical for that time of year. Obviously, we get into our busy season. Since we last talked, we did have the blue-green algae that shut down the lake, or the reservoir for a little while. It's been since back opened, and the DEQ is doing a 1-month follow-up today. we feel pretty confident that we should be good with clear water. It's been good since it was closed down. The time that it was closed down was also right before the Bismarck Marathon, or sorry, triathlon. So that became a duathlon, but it was still one of the most attended that they've had. It was still the busiest one. So it did go over well. I was out there for it. And I'm still standing. So.
You finished, yeah?
Yeah, I made it. Just barely, according to David, when he saw me. So, on June 20th, everybody knows we did have that large wind and rainstorm that came through. We did have some damage out at McDowell Dam, losing 18 trees and branch cleanup. Other hangars that David and his crew were able to clean up, but we did lose 18 trees from that. Then last Wednesday, we had the hailstorm hit that did damage some buildings, and as we had been in conversation since then, looking to get NADERF out there to take a look at that to see if there's anything that needs repairing or from insurance and that kind of thing. I did share some photos late yesterday with Chairman Landeberger about some of the building damage. The hail was the size of baseballs. David did send me a picture of that, so I filled his whole hand up with one hailstone. So they're pretty big.
Yeah.
So we'll proceed with that and see where we go with that. Just wanted to inform the board of that damage that we saw. Other than that, attendance has been good.
Yeah.
So
We did have one vehicle, I think, right out there that probably
yes,
sustained
and
some damage.
as you remember, that was a military surplus vehicle. They're generally made a little bit tougher than the traditional vehicles, so damage may be
Minimal.
less
Yeah.
on that one. And it may, quite frankly, may not be worth repairing it.
Yeah.
The vehicle's there to stay and to do the grunt work that happens out there. It's not a showpiece. So we'll have to weigh whether or not it's really necessary to repair it.
Did your residents get some damage, Dave? Pretty minimal. I saw the photos. Didn't look like there was much at all. So that's good.
And that was re-roofed 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago, and that has metal roofing on it. They look like shingles, but it is a metal roof.
Yep.
So pretty sturdy.
Held up pretty good then.
So, Dave, was it the rainfall then that cleared the water up, or what, the blue-green algae got to a point where you could reopen the lake? How did that happen?
Traditionally, from what I understand, you've got a couple of factors that, movement of the water will get the algae out of there. And it's surprisingly very early. I don't think I've ever seen it at McDowell Dam. It has shown up in the past, but it's later on in the year when it's hot and we don't have any, and it's dry and we don't have any movement. We don't have any influx of fresh water or anything like that from rains. Kind of shocked us all that it came in June.
Yeah.
Surprised by it. We had a little bit of a rain shortly after, about a week and a half after the test, and that cleared it up. Because what we did is after the test, a week later, we ran another test. So we went out and got a test and expedited a test a week later, and it cleared up and it came back clear. So we think it was mainly, a little bit of wind and that little bit of rain influx to
Maybe cooler weather
Yeah.
contributed?
Could have been.
Could have been
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, David shared it's the tests have to get sent to, was it Florida?
The test gets sent to Florida.
To get tested, so,
That's
why it takes
that
a
is
few-
surprising.
right?
Our last
Something in Minnesota even would, interesting, but
We have to take the sample and freeze it, put it in a cooler and ship it off
ship it off to Florida.
and wait for the results
Yeah.
patiently.
Yeah, patient, right. Well, thanks for all that, appreciate that. Yeah, so you had mentioned, I think we were talking before the meeting with you and I and Wendy about maybe reaching out to Bain, our insurance
Sure, we can do that.
agent. Okay,
Yes.
that'd be good. And then if we have to meet out there, I'm sure they'll contact you guys and show up and do their assessment,
Yep,
see what they come up with. Okay,
we will proceed with that.
okay, sounds good. Okay, any questions for Dave? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. See from McDowell Dan this morning, we can move on to financial reports this morning. Manager Reap.
Mr. Chairman, board members, pages 45, 46 of your balance sheet and accounting of our designated reserve funds, special assessment funds. I'll just go through some of the activity in June. We started in our checking, we started a balance of $2,190,112.31. We paid bills in the amount of $68,527.32. We had income in the amount of $39,360.08, excluding some interest that I'll talk about a little bit later. That income reflects real estate tax, disabled veteran credit, state aid, and a homestead credit, along with a small amount of special assessments collected and a small amount of interest on our regular savings account. We also had miscellaneous income of $500 related to a subsurface drainage permit application. We ended at the balance in our checking account of $2,160,945.07. In our Bravaro Wealth account, we began with $2,109,434.39. We had interest in the amount of, I don't have the exact amount, sorry about that, but over $7,000, under $8,000. And then we had a conversion of a CD that we deposited in our wealth account in the amount of $317,000. So our ending balance in the Bravaro Wealth account is $2,434,246.15. Reserve fund balance remains unchanged from previous month at $700,408.15. So total, we do have a small amount of receivables also, slightly under $250 left yet to be collected. So total amount, $5,295,849.25. I don't know if there's any questions, but absent of questions or induce of questions, I'll move to approve the balance sheet as presented in your packet.
Second.
Got a motion by Manager Reap and a second by Manager Smith to approve this month's balance sheet. Any questions this morning on that? If not, Wendy, take roll call vote, please.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reap,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger,
Yes, motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, board members, similarly, page 47, 48 of the profit and loss documents. No issues with those. I move for approval as presented.
A motion?
I'll second.
Motion by Manager Reap and a second by Manager Smith to approve this month's profit and loss statement. Any questions on that? Not hearing any. Wendy, take roll call vote, please.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reap,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger,
Yes, motion passes. Profit and loss is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item C is your 2026 budget. As we discussed in the past, James and Wendy and I got together and prepared a draft budget for submittal. We did submit that to the hearing or budget committee of the county commission. Did visit with them on June 25th in this room. I shared the information with board members just last night, what was shared with the county commissioners. The budget request is for 1.5 mils, including our anticipated interest income and McDowell Dam income. That number goes to about 1.2 million as a budget request number. They're still in their process. I hear they have a hearing probably later this week, next week, to really start getting into the nuts and bolts of the entire county's budget. So ultimately, I think by September, typically, we have a final answer. And I don't know if Chairman Wood or Commissioner Woodcox cares to add to anything in that process.
Mr. Chairman, we're meeting next week, I think, to gather all the budgets together, which we've done. Then the county commission will look at those and we'll start perusing each one. And I anticipate no problems with the water resource budget so far. We got to wait till we get everything added up, and then we'll go from there. So far, we've had some budget problems, not with this group, but with other things, and we're straightening those around. We'll get them going next week, I think.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other questions for Dennis on the budget? Appreciate all the assistance on that, Dennis.
Mr. Chairman, board members, one item, I was not here at last month's meeting, but the discussion was, we should look into treasury bills as an investment vehicle, potential investment vehicle. I have not done that and investigated any of that yet. I did visit with our legal representation, Dave Bliss, here before the meeting, just briefly, and we don't think there'd be any issues with it, other than, I guess in my mind, if we have to go outside of our regular bank to invest in those, then that might become an issue just from our policy we adopted to do business with that bank. So I'll do some checking into that and see if that's a viable option.
Okay.
And one more item, I guess, just to keep the board updated. Our Brevard Wealth rate, as of this morning, is at 4.28%, with a effective rate of 4.03% after you reduce the management fee on that. So still maintaining pretty good rate.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Any questions for Dennis on that? Not hearing any. I think, Dave, you have one more comment regarding
Apologies, Manager.
No,
Or,
you're good.
Chair Lannenberger and managers. Yesterday, we received an email, and I know Manager Jones was copied on it as the portfolio holder for McDowell Dam. Game and Fish had sent an email to herself, to Manager Jones and myself, regarding the boat type that is allowed out at McDowell Dam. Wanted to open the discussion for, and I'm going to read this to you, just as you don't have this in your packet, I would like you all to understand what it is. The department is reviewing some of our administrative rules over the last couple of months, and the topic of motorboat restrictions came up. They basically have two types of boat motor restrictions. One is an electric motor and idle speed only. The discussion within the Game and Fish is that the way I understand this is McDowell Dam is one of the only reservoirs that requires electric motors. So they're asking if we would be willing, the Water Resource District Board, would be willing to forego the electric motor only restriction and just go to idle speed. We barely had a time to discuss this as a staff. David put together some pretty good points. Where you put in the boat in relation to the swimming area is pretty darn close to each other. Last year, I think we had somebody go in there with a regular boat, and they got ticketed for it. We're, as a staff, somewhat uncomfortable with the proximity of boaters to swimmers. We have swimmers that do go outside, that swim distances. They come out to the reservoir to swim for distances, and they'll go out the swimming area and they swim the entire length of the reservoir and back in the morning, early. So if you have somebody that decides they're just going to gun it across the reservoir, it's a recipe for disaster. Also, it is a fairly small reservoir, so any fishing boat that is out there, they can get across there pretty easily with a trolling motor. And one of the other points is our parking lot is pretty darn small for the boat ramp. We don't feel that we'd have capacity if we started opening that up to anybody with, as was stated from Game and Fish, anybody with a 4-cycle engine. That would open it up quite a bit if they don't have a trolling motor and if they're just going to go out there with idle speeds. Like I said, Manager Jones wanted me to bring this topic up, and I was just going through, reviewing a few emails pertaining to McDowell Dam this morning, noticed that she wasn't here. She'd asked me to bring that up, so I apologize for being out of order with the discussion, but just wanted to bring it up to the board's attention and maybe open it up for discussion if there were topics or if there were thoughts that I could respond, if we want to try and still keep it as an electric motor only, or if we want to make that change.
Thoughts, questions? Does the Game and Fish restrict on these, like the horsepower? Or is it strictly?
I think it's strictly electric motor versus idle speed. He included their language for the restrictions in the email that he sent me, and I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
As I was reviewing it, I noticed that you weren't on the cover, or weren't copied on it, but they do have two definitions. They have electric motor only, and they have idle speed only. And it basically says, I take that back, there are other reservoirs that do not allow
They only have the electric.
combustion engines,
Oh.
as it's listed in the definition.
Yeah.
But
So could you put a boat in there that would have just a trolling motor, and they only run the trolling motor, but they would have the larger motor on their boat, but
they could, but they're not allowed to
turn that other
turn that
motor
other
on?
motor
Yep.
on, otherwise they could, and I'm sure David would be calling
Yeah.
the game and fish.
So we're not
shaking
restrict-
it
I mean-
pretty darn quick.
How do they load the boat?
There's a ramp there.
Well, with the ramp, and they could probably,
I mean, you
get
have
going
a,
enough.
You have a bow-mounted trolling motor.
They can pull the
that
winch
presents a
out
little
far
bit-
enough.
Okay, so they just get out there enough to strap it up and,
Yep, and then
Yep.
crank it up.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we can continue the conversation. When you guys get the chance, maybe we could have a conversation and kind of bring it back to the board maybe next month or something.
Okay.
Just have a recommendation. I don't see at this point why we would need to change regulations. I mean, at this point.
Yeah, you're not gonna get any pushback from fishermen anyway, are you? I mean, it's.
I'm trying to figure out why they're, is it to clean up on their end, just to make it, because we're like the only handful of lake? Or-
That's the sound of it, is that they're just trying to clean up their
Yeah.
regulations and restrictions, and the topic came up, so they thought I'd ask.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And is it signed out there, Dave? That, yeah, very well, I think, if I remember right, yeah.
There are,
Pretty clear.
half a dozen or more,
Okay.
not more than a dozen electric motor only
Yeah.
locations in the state.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, just a question, if they were allowed combustion engine, would it increase your policing activity that you need to, and would there be any concerns about, bank erosion or anything? I'm just,
I'd imagine both. Yes, the staff would be definitely more aware. We have paddle boats out there as well, so if you consider people on paddle boats and kayaks on the river and boats
Right.
going by, that's, that happens all the time, but paddle boats, somebody decides to open up an engine to get across a reservoir really quick to get, how, I'm not saying fishermen are bad at all, but, how sometimes they just gun it right off the boat ramp to get to the spot that they want to fish at the fastest. They might accidentally do that, and then we've got 3-foot waves and a couple people on a paddle boat, and all of a sudden we have a paddle boat full of water.
Right. Yeah, idle speed seems pretty gray, too, to me. It's like, what's version of an idle speed?
Yeah, well, idle would typically be your
First
in
gear.
forward gear without any acceleration.
Just first gear? Yeah.
There's,
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
popped out of neutral, that's about it.
right? Yeah, it's 2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I guess just other question, the Parks and Rec manages the facility. Do we, as the owner, have ultimate say, or is it basically your say?
I would imagine it's
Probably ours.
your say.
Yeah.
It's your reservoir, we manage it for you.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I think read into it.
We lean
and-
pretty heavily on, your opinion.
Yes.
Recommendations.
Yeah.
We can make recommendations.
Yep, that would be good. But I think your points of being, the ramp is really close to the swimming beach, and just, to me,
It's very narrow.
with the kayaks and everything, and it's not a huge lake, and it doesn't seem there's ever, I don't ever remember anybody, complaining about, electric only out there. So, to me, I would think we just continue, but let's continue the conversation. You guys can look at that, and we can come back and
Okay.
discuss.
Yeah, the only thing I can really see from a fisherman's perspective is when the weather gets cool enough to where, we'll longer wanna get out of the boat, crawl into the water, and lift your trolling motor to walk out and hook it up with your tow rope. So, at some point, I'm sure they'd rather start their engine and drive it up onto the trailer. When it's cooler, and you probably don't have swimmers at that time. I don't know how late they would go and fish there.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't, I think that the fishing kind of cools off after a certain point. I don't know that it kicks back up. There's not walleye out there or anything like that.
Right.
That do that, the spring, fall type of.
Yeah. How many boaters do we typically see in a week?
5?
Yeah,
No.
less than one a day, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, there's a couple of items. Obviously, if you open it up, you're gonna see more boats. Because you open it up and you'll have some people that, don't wanna go out there and have that. So that, Dave's comment about parking and everything else, granted, it might increase the use of the facility, but you have increased risks that go with that. The other side of the equation, the minute you introduce a combustion engine, you have oils and other things that, on a small reservoir could impact water quality. So just point those two things out as
That's a
well.
good point. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Okay, well, good discussion. We'll kind of continue the discussion. And did they have a deadline or anything, or they were just,
He did not.
okay, probably looking ahead to next year's proclamation, I imagine, just trying to clean
And
some of
I
that
can
up.
reply back and say that we'll discuss it at the next board meeting.
Yeah.
Hopefully come back with a conclusion.
Recommendation, okay, all right, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you again.
Yep. Okay. We can now jump into drainage permits, complaints.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, yeah, one more item. Yeah.
There is, in your packet is insurance proposal. I guess I didn't look through it too much, but it's
That's right.
part of our monthly bills as well, but looks like it's our coverages for facilities and vehicles for the next year. Is that right, Wendy?
Yep.
I don't know if there's any discussion or negotiation that needs to happen. I don't think there is, but, so, I think it's there, but we do need to approve it.
Yep.
Bolded, so.
Probably have a motion for it, yeah. Okay,
So I'd move approving the insurance as presented in your packet.
okay.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Manager Reap, second by Manager Smith to approve the insurance policy for, I'm not sure what the year, the timeframe is, but basically is it from mid-year to mid-year?
July 1st through
Yeah.
July 1st.
Okay.
So we're actually a little bit behind, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any questions? If not, Wendy, take roll call, please. Vote.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reap,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, thanks, Dennis. All right, now we can move on to item 7 this morning, drainage permits and complaints. Manager Jones isn't here this morning, but I'm not sure there's any updates on River Road at this point. It's on the list. Okay, it's on the list. Thank you, Casey. Keelbort Park,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, from an efficiency standpoint, I'll just step through these one at a time, visiting with Commissioner Jones. Keelboat Park, we've completed the research relative to the O&M documentation. I just need to prepare the memorandum to go to DWR. So that's on process. Hopefully by next meeting, you'll have that quick summary. It's only gonna be a couple pages, but it's got background. The Hawk Tree HOA, I've got somebody on staff, Nick Cullen, who's looking into that. Obviously, there's a lot of pages to go through. And we're trying to ascertain how we take the number of alternatives that have been proposed and summarize those concisely and see whether or not there's an actual recommendation there, or just lay it out to the parties that be.
I think that Manager Mitchell actually was able to have a meeting on
Oh,
site.
that's right, he mentioned that.
Yeah.
Maybe just want to give some background on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I met with Brad Brown, the president of the HOA out there, and Paul Kohanis, the treasurer, and, because I wanted a firsthand view of the site and the drainage area that was their concern. And they did mention at that time that there were some options available, and they were entertaining those options, and we're gonna move forward with that, which at that time we decided to, I was gonna touch base with them again in the upcoming weeks
Okay.
to see where they're at with that. So, and if you had anything else further, Mike, regarding that.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do, like I said, is basically, the chronological history, what went on from beginning to end, where the standpoints are, if you want to call it the stakeholders or the specific parties involved, and then put those options, and we can set up a meeting with you and Nick after he's looked at that and said, okay, where are we at? And then maybe carry that back to them before the next meeting, if that's possible, and see what kind of response they have before we formalize it in a memorandum to the board.
just a quick question on that. So let's say they have these options, who's making the decision on what option they're gonna move forward with. Is it the HOA?
Well, here's the background to this one. You know, Casey can obviously chime in. There's a number of players out here. The real question is two aspects. Number one, it appears as though all the options have been on the table, but nothing's been formalized. In other words, they're just out there. Nobody's kind of grabbed the chains from all of them, pulled them all together and said, okay, you know, what are they and where can you go? From the district's perspective, the real question is do they have jurisdiction relative to those culvert installations? So from that, after that, if the district doesn't have any real jurisdiction per se, I'll just lay it that way, then it comes back to the HOA and the parties involved. Do they want to pursue this individually? Do they want to take a legal route or where? But the real issue before the board is a jurisdictional question relative to the culverts and the obstruction.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Anything else on that, Chuck?
Nope.
Nope, okay.
Yeah, I will say that kind of background, it's a little off topic, but it's close. The Wells County Water Resource District took the township roadway authority to court because they changed the township roadway and they used the obstruction policy to basically try to have them put the culverts in the way that they wanted per an assessment drain. So the culvert obstruction question is out there. There's been a legal decision on that. I'm not sure how it plays. Dennis, you might have read that.
I didn't.
But how that plays in, and, you know, we'll take a look at that decision as it might fit into this, because it deals with culverts and deals with the district using the obstruction clause to have the culverts modified. So that just came up at the Water Resource District summer meeting.
Yeah, I didn't read that. Well, was there a decision on that? I guess.
The court actually decided that the Water Resource District could not use the obstruction statute
Right,
to get the
right.
township to change, which creates a number of conflicts. There's a number of issues in that lawsuit, but they ruled that the obstruction one could not be used. So we'll visit with Dave on that as well. I'll get a copy of it, so.
Okay.
Okay, kind of moving on to the Mike Cook scenario. I've got Nick looking into that to create an assessment district, what that assessment district may look like based on your recommendation to us. There's really not been a lot of work. It's just a matter, it's in the queue to be completed. As far as the Chase DeWitt's application, been a number of conversations with Travis and the applicant and Dave as well. The applicant is aware that they currently do not own the property, so therefore they have to get the certification or approval from the property owner to actually proceed. I'm going to speculate that if they have a purchase agreement, they'll wait until the purchase agreement takes place and they actually have ownership, and then the permit could proceed. But right now, it's on hold because it's considered incomplete.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions for Michael? If not, thanks, Michael. We can move on to projects this morning. Starting off with Hogue Island there, the first one. I assume we're still kind of working on the easement.
Yeah, it's another thing that's just in the queue. We'll get
Yep.
it moving along. It's doesn't have a critical timeline to it, so.
Okay. And then the second item there in your packet on page 72 is a letter response to one of the landowners out at the Hogue Island site. They had reached out to me, I don't know, it was probably maybe a couple months ago now, and just had some concerns or some questions regarding kind of the finished product out there on their property. And there was some back and forth, and I think at this point now we're ready to send this letter. You guys, if everybody's good with that this morning, so you can see there's a 2-page letter here just kind of summarizing what Travis, I assume it was you that was out there and met with him.
Actually, it was Jaden in our office.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but Jaden knocked on the door. They were home. They walked out and looked at it and had a conversation on site. So,
Yep.
good communications there.
Okay. So this is just kind of more or less just kind of documentation of the conversation.
Right.
And kind of what we're seeing, and hopefully put this one to rest. So if there's consensus, we can go ahead and send that letter. I don't think we need a
Concur.
motion.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good? Okay. We're good, Michael?
Okay.
You guys can just affix my
Yep.
digital signature. Okay. Okay, any other questions on that? We can move on to Apple Creek this morning.
Okay, a number of things, Mr. Chairman. The contractor, Weiss and Sons, has been on the Apple Creek Slide area. They have installed the cross drainage to remove the water that's coming out of the slope from the, if you want to call it, the lignite seams that are up there. Braun was out there on Sunday, took a look at some things. There are still some concerns. It appears as though the drain tile systems that were put in at this point might be a little bit overloaded. In other words, there's still water coming out of the hill where they put the drain systems in. As is typical, until those systems can catch up to the water that's in the system, that's likely, but we'll continue to monitor as it goes. The other one that's out there, and I was trying to remember whether it's actually in here, there's a slight scope revision for Braun. They had a number of locations out there to where they were monitoring, and it seems as though there was some movement going on. So based on their monitoring points, they said, well, we'd like Houston Engineering to go out and, put some control points out there and do some double checks just to make sure that we're not seeing, or that what we're seeing is real. In talking to our surveyor, there is a likelihood in this particular instance, given the timing, that the Bismarck State College site was offline for a while as far as their GIS and what they're using for control. So that may have influenced some of this if they were not aware of that. So there's going to be some additional costs for Braun to go out and have us put some control points. Probably prudent to have some control points out there anyway that are
Makes
fixed,
sense.
that are in an area that are not subject to, the potential activity that's out there. So that's in here. That's something that they will proceed with. It's just part of the existing contract. Obviously, it might be over based on that. But other than that, the review has gone very well, talking to Barr relative to sharing information as far as what's being done and how it was done and the background information. You have the two grant applications that are now signed. So that process is in place, so we could be invoicing back to, for reimbursement on those. But it's kind of an ongoing thing that we still look for approval once the grants are signed for, if you want to call it the actual ground disturbance activity as far as your grant's concerned. There's obviously ground disturbance going on from the final construction, but that's covered under the other grant. So as soon as this is done, there's been coordination relative to the number of inclinometers, where they get placed, to try and prevent duplication between the two parties that are working on it. So it's a complex ongoing activity, but it's going along fairly well.
Okay. Is there anything we get to sign at this point on any of those?
No, just the two grant applications, and you've already authorized those to be signed
Yep.
digitally. I
Yep.
just got to go back. I was gone for a while. I want to make sure those are signed and
Okay.
out. So.
Mr. Chairman, so we'll submit for reimbursement. That'll be our job, and I presume we'll fall to.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll follow up soon as we.
To you folks,
Yeah.
right? You guys have the authorized.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. We're good with that.
I did see a pay estimate come in from Braun Intertech too. That was like yesterday, the day
Right.
before.
There's actually two of them, one from BGC and one from Braun.
Okay.
I
One's
believe.
on our list this month,
Yep.
right?
Are they on this month's?
Yes.
They are, okay.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
So we'll go back, now with the grant signed, we'll go back and look at a first reimbursement, so.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want to do that monthly, or, I mean, we don't have to decide, but
Yeah,
or
we'll
quarterly.
look at the amounts and try to make some decisions based on that. Or what the ongoing, what's next month gonna look like. If there's gonna be a lot, maybe it's best to combine them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on the Uberry slide? Okay, not hearing any. We can move on to old business this morning. First item there, I'm not sure there's any updates regarding the CRS, but I said Mitch was here.
Yeah,
Mitch, I don't know if you've got any updates or not for us this morning, but, morning.
Morning, Chair Landenberger, members of the board. The second week of August, we have a cab visit scheduled with FEMA.
Oh, okay.
Tom
Second, you
Burleigh.
said second week in August?
Yeah, starting on Tuesday.
Okay.
The two FEMA reps, Tom Burney and Matt Lafferty, and then State Water Resource NFIP coordinator will be there too.
Okay.
We'll do some site visits around the county, and then we'll look at all our permitting and ordinances, and I'm not sure, I mean, it's scheduled till Friday every day, so I'm not sure how long they're gonna be or how long it's gonna take. You
Okay.
know, I think like we could do it in maybe 2 hours. But not, I don't know. My first one, so we're gonna, you know,
Yeah,
so it's a good thing.
yeah. Okay. Good, thanks, thanks, Mitch. Okay, Mike, any updates on the mitigation plan for Mary?
Nothing at this point, no.
Okay. All right, we can move on to item C this morning, our comment policy. So kind of timely here with the comments this morning from Commissioner Conley regarding kind of how we ask for comments from members of the public during our meetings. But I don't know, Dennis, do you have anything you want to?
Yeah, I gave Wendy a couple different options, and they're both included in your packet. Actually, I think they're both included twice, just so there's no confusion. But one originated through the eastern part of the state, through Sean Fredericks. Basically took his language verbatim, changed all the counties to Burleigh, whatever reference there, and so that was what represents that. And that, just so you know which one's which, that's the one that starts with the whereas, more of a legalese type document. That's that one.
What page is that?
108 is that one.
Yes, thanks. And then also, Ward County, who I work with, had just developed theirs in draft form. And so I grabbed that, changed again the name from Ward to Burleigh, and presented that without really any edits to it. And so I think it's something to consider. I don't know that we need to absolutely decide today, but it goes through and addresses some time periods, like was maybe presented here early this morning. 5 minutes. I think the chairman's discretion is important. I heard Dave mention that at the last meeting, Dave Bliss. And so I don't know that these are perfect and should be adopted at right now, but I think there's something to, a good start and to consider. One other document, and that's on page 116. I think that's, you said that origin is, that's Burleigh County Commission's policy as it was approved last Monday. Okay, so there's that option as well, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think there's any one of these could maybe serve the purpose, or we could use combinations thereof or slight edits to thereof. So,
What's the version on? Is 106 our current? Or this is?
That again, there's that's the
Ward-
Ward County.
that's the Ward
one.
County version,
They
okay.
got in there twice. Each of those, Ward County and the Sean Fredericks, got in there twice. So there's.
Okay.
So sorry for that confusion.
No, that's fine. That makes sense. Okay.
Well, there would be some continuity if we used the Burleigh County.
I kind of like that idea too, Roger.
It wouldn't,
Yep.
might be confusing if we had a different policy.
Right. So we're kind of well connected to the county.
There's no time frame on that one.
No, just time limit and appropriateness at the discretion of the chair.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, as to the county's policy, I like bullet points numbers 1 and 2. They say may be available during each agenda item at the discretion of the chair, and time limit and appropriateness at discretion of the chair. I think we talked about this briefly at the last meeting, but in my view, if it's clear that the chair has the responsibility to govern public comment, that's really what is necessary for the flow of the meeting, and I don't think you're denying any individual's rights to be able to appear. But as long as it's clear that the chair has that authority, the chair can run these meetings, and if that's embodied in the policy, that's great. I think Sean Frederick's policy is excellent. I also like the county's. One thing I would change probably with Sean's too, is rather than use the Senate bill, just put in chapter 44, substitute that, so we're not talking about a bill anymore. We're talking about the actual statute. A person could combine bullets 1 and 2 from the county commission and use the earlier one as well, or however the board wants to do that.
Okay.
I think there are good things in both of them.
Okay. Any more thoughts this morning? If not, do you want to take a little time between now and next month's meeting, and or is everybody comfortable making a decision today? Any thoughts?
So, Dave, you were saying that you would look at the Burleigh County one with, in addition to what?
Again, I think both are good. I think the points that they were making, that the county commission made, are good, and they're articulated well, and I would think taking those 2 points, and perhaps others, but incorporating that into the other policy, that the draft that Dennis has, would be a good thing. It's already there at the discretion of the chair, but I think the county sets it forth a little more clearly.
The only question I have, and it's maybe more on a personal level, we all trust James right now, but if we get somebody in here that's really, really receptive to hearing people talk, time can get to be an issue. One of the things that, again, on a more personal level, I don't like to see people just get up there for their 15 minutes of fame either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do like having a band or a boundary on time, if possible. Again, it's addressed in the Burleigh County one, but it doesn't have a number associated with it. That's the only thing I do like the idea of being consistent, within county entities as much as possible too, though, so.
Because the Ward County one is almost a page, I see, right?
Mhm.
The signatures are on a second page, but it's a little more concise compared to the other one you had gotten. And that one does call out, I think, the Century Code, Chapter 44, as Dave was referencing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a time limit on that one?
On the Ward County one that I copied over, yes.
Yeah.
30
30 minute? No.
The other part it requires is, if you can have written comments that
Yep.
have to be accepted, but it puts a time restraint on that you have to have it handed in 30 minutes before public meeting starts, and so.
Because we've had some, public hearings where we've had some public comments, and some of them are quite lengthy, if I remember right. So-
And in those instances, do you have the discretion on managing that time?
I would think so. It doesn't state it that way in here, but,
And
because,
Mr. Chairman, there will be times when the board members want to ask that
Right.
person questions which will go beyond the 5 minutes.
Yeah, it gets to be a
It
fuzzy.
gets to be different, and that's why it goes back to the discretion of the chair.
Right,
true.
You may want to have some guy up there who's an expert and talk to him for 20 minutes.
yeah, because
Right.
the Ward County one says, however, the board may, by majority vote, extend the time for public comment, but that doesn't say specific to individuals' 5-minute time
Right.
frame. So,
Yeah, I guess I'm inclined to,
add that language.
well, I'm actually comfortable with this one, and if it
Burleigh
turned
County?
into an issue at at some point, then we would go, all right, this is not working, we have to put a time limit on it, because I'm not sure we would, because, it has to be pertaining to Burleigh County, so that reduces the amount of potential
Right.
conversation right there, and then it has to be pertinent to what we're doing.
Yep.
And, I don't know, I just don't know that we'd see the same problems. And if we do, then I think we'd have the ability to go back and amend.
True. Yeah, it could be a living document per
Yeah.
se, yeah.
True.
Yep.
Okay, so you're kind of recommending, maybe, Roger, your thoughts as we go with the Burleigh County?
Yeah, because
The
if
one on
we do put a
116.
time limit on it, which is logical, but there's a lot of what-ifs, and we are in potentially would be breaking our own rule or having to stay inside the guidelines. We're now voting on whether to extend that, it could get messy. And
Yeah.
I think we just have to trust the chair to manage it, and if it ever becomes an issue, then.
And to Commissioner Connolly's comment earlier at the beginning of the meeting today, he was mentioned that how many times do we really see this happening with this board? In 5 years, it's only been a couple times where we
Right.
had public comment.
Yeah,
So
so I don't know that we have a big problem to resolve.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we did discuss that time limit thing a couple different meetings, but we left it up to the discretion of the chairman, and we felt that was very important because he's the chairman, and he has to be reasonable. You can't let somebody go on for half an hour and repeat themselves all the time. So it's a powerful thing for the chairman, but yes, it's a necessary one too. So we also discussed whether they had to be a resident of Burleigh County, and that was important too, because you talk about an expert coming to testify. No doubt that expert's probably not from Burleigh County. They might be someplace else. So we did kick that around a little bit. But
Yeah. Okay.
the discretion of the chair was very important.
I
Thanks,
think
Commissioner.
I guess
Mr. Chairman,
agree with that line of thinking.
Jerry, or Mr. Wilcox, the first bullet may be available during each agenda item. What's the background of that bullet? So if I read that right, each of our agenda items, somebody could stand up and say, I want to make a comment on that. Is that what's anticipated? Or?
Well, at first we thought if it's on the agenda, you're supposed to make your comments when the agenda item came up. But then that's up to the discretion of the chairman whether he allows any public comment at all. So it's kind of hard to tell what we intend to do.
Yeah, that one is a little confusing to me. Because we give opportunity for public comment right off the bat.
But
Like
I
for
say,
items not associated with an
Well,
agenda item.
Right.
Yep. And
'cause
that's,
if it's on the agenda and
It's on the
our
agenda.
current chairman now is very good about allowing public comment, but that doesn't mean the next chairman might say it's no public comment allowed, so
Right.
who knows?
so that gives you that discretion again.
Sure, I get
Right.
it now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if one of the other commissioners wanted public comment, they could bring it up and discuss it before,
Right.
yeah.
But just to clarify, the law does require allowance of public comment at each meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So at some point, the chairman has to allow
Right.
somebody to comment
Right.
if they want to. Yeah.
That's what you, yeah.
Okay.
And you're right, Mr. Chairman, it does come down to the chair's discretion. As long as I've been here, there's probably been a few more times. What you end up with is all of a sudden somebody's got a particular issue they want addressed, and it's not on the agenda, drainage complaint or whatever. It can come up, you can discuss it. Sometimes you've had more lengthy discussions, or otherwise say, hey, formalize your complaint and we'll deal with it. Which means you've given them the opportunity to step up and be, if you want to call, informed by the board as far as where they can go. So I like the term may, because, you don't want to necessarily open up, you can see that you've got 70 people in the room on a particular topic, and you can control it to the point to where, you may need a public informational meeting, but the
Right.
board can decide that relative to your, the demands for time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a good bullet point here, should not repeat items already presented, so you can't get up and say 30 people can't say the same thing that
Right.
one other person has already said.
And I would add, I've been to any number of, if you want to call planning board commission meetings, et cetera, where you have citizens who are saying the same thing over and over and over again. And quite honestly, I sit in the background and kind of say, okay, at what point do you just say, hey, unless you have something new to say, there's really nothing more to bring forward. If you want to come up and say, hey, I support what the prior people said, just so that you're recognized, if I were chair, that's advisable, but sometimes things go on and on and on with the same thing. So it comes to an efficiency point, but I think the legislature was looking at, as Commissioner Connolly pointed out, opportunity for people to step in and speak. So, and I think that's being given here, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And Dave, it's your thought that here, this Burleigh County version on page 116 of our packet meets the intent of that bill, right?
Yes, I think the intent is pretty clear. It's now in statute. You got to allow public comment. How you allow that is up to the given entity.
Yep.
And I think too, less is more. I mean, I
Yep.
think if you give the chairman the quality of being able to run the meeting at his discretion, you're probably doing okay.
Yep. Okay. Well, Roger?
Well, I make a motion that we accept the policy as it is presented in our packet and is the public comment policy of Burleigh County.
Okay. The one that's on page 116
Yep,
of our packet? Okay.
Wendy can put that into English.
Okay. He just stepped away here. We'll kind of wait till Wendy gets back here. We'll let her know there's a motion. Is there a second for that motion?
Second it.
Okay. Second by Chuck. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we don't want to forget this is a living document, so if this doesn't work, we'll know within 6 months whether, by the end of the year, whether this doesn't work and we've got a problem in any particular area. It can be revised. We might do it, or this group might do it.
Nope.
But
Okay. If there's some kind of a
problem.
challenge to it or
We
something,
can-
we can
We're
address it.
it's kind of a undecided question right now. So we're trying to do the best we can, and then if we need to change it, we will.
Makes sense. Okay. Thanks, Commissioner. All right, Wendy, in your absence, we have all kinds of action going on. No, we do have a motion by Manager Smith.
Okay.
To adopt the public comment policy similar to or as the same as Burleigh County, which is the version that we have in our packet on page 116. So it's basically the half-page one with, let's say, about 10 bullets, yep.
Okay.
And it was seconded by Manager Mitchell.
Okay.
And we'll take a roll call vote on that, please.
Okay, Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, good, thank you. Good discussion this morning. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Dave. Okay, no other old business this morning. We can move on to new business. EAE program contribution, Roger?
Yes, the Missouri River Joint Board had their summer meeting 2 weeks ago today. There was not a quorum, so there was excuse me, no actual business accomplished, but gave some reports. They did ask me, as representative of Burleigh County, whether or not we would contribute voluntarily. We do have paid our joint board dues, and last year we voluntarily donated $7,500.
Yep.
7,500, and ask if that would, if they could expect that again this year. I would advocate for that voluntary contribution. I think the program is, and as a reminder, EAE is educate, advocate, and engage. And we're engaging and activating the public so that they're more aware of Missouri River issues. The largest issue is coming from outside of the Missouri River Basin, and that is from others who are short on water quantity and want to eye the Missouri River as a possible source of solving their water issues. And so I think, and the joint board believes that it's important to continually educate the public, because there could be a point in the future where that is a real fight, and we would need the support of North Dakota citizens, and without educating them, that might not happen. So we're one of the counties that benefits greatly from having the Missouri River on our border, and we're also one of the counties that has the means to be able to do that voluntary contribution. So I would move that we continue and support that EAE program by voluntarily contributing $7,500. I don't know that it was budgeted. That would be the one question I'd have, but
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe it was identified as a line item. It would not be an issue.
Right, I think we have a Missouri River, line item in there that this would probably fall into.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah. Okay, got a motion by Manager Smith to contribute our $7,500 again for the 2025 year.
A second.
Got a second by Manager Mitchell.
Mr. Chairman, I got,
Any questions? Yeah.
remind me, what is our annual dues?
2,000.
2,000, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And it's all based on, what's that term, taxable evaluation per county, and we're in the highest, so you're either at 2,000, 1,500, or 1,000.
Okay. Thanks. Are they getting any more interest from some of the other counties? I know we have a
Yeah, we've
motion.
had some counties join now that our bylaws allow for counties that are not adjoining the river. So we've had some new counties join. Unfortunately, we didn't get them on the call so that we could have a quorum, and we suspected that
That was gonna be
getting
the
a
case.
quorum was going to be more challenging, and turned out
It is.
it was.
That's fair. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion or questions? Not hearing any. Wendy, take roll call vote, please.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberg.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you,
Mr.
Roger.
Chairman,
Yes.
might not be a bad idea to put that in the budget as
Something
community
specific?
involvement. If you're doing it every year, it probably should be budgeted. And we have that out of community involvement, one of our line items. Also, we required the group that you're donating to send a letter of request so that we have it on file, saying, this is what we do, this is the value, and whatever it might be. So otherwise, it's just if you do it the way it is now without that, who knows what they're doing or what. So whether it's a community involvement project.
Yeah, that's a good point. 'Cause we do have something in here in the packet from 2024.
Do we?
Yeah,
Okay.
from last year's request.
Well, we
So
had
that-
one group that we budgeted for $5,000, and they didn't request it. They didn't even come and say we'd like to. So we didn't
You didn't pay it?
sponsor the symphony fireworks this year. So,
Oh.
which is unfortunate because I'm a big supporter of that.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy to get that letter from
Okay.
the joint board.
Or,
Yeah, that'd be
or
good too.
email or something, or.
Yep. Yeah, just email us an email. Yeah.
And the timing would be good, we could consider that next month's meetings for bills.
Yep.
Yes, it's not in this month.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that would be great.
No, I think that's why I'll say we approve the motion,
Send a request.
conditioned upon a letter of request
Yep.
addressed to the chairman.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Commissioner.
You bet.
Okay. Another item on there, Wendy, that under new business was the U.S. Postal Service. Was that something?
Cowboys has not received their payment for last month.
Yeah. It's
We're
interesting.
assuming that it's lost in the mail somewhere. As of yesterday, it had not cleared the bank yet,
Okay.
but I also know that Houston and Bliss didn't cash theirs till July, and they were mailed on June 20th.
So at this point, are we looking at maybe canceling that check and then issuing a new check?
Yes, there is a reissue check in with the checks.
Yep.
It's not on the bills because it's
Already.
already been paid.
Right.
But
Okay.
if we approve it, I'll have you sign that one.
Okay. I assume there's consensus there to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
are we done with that particular?
Well, I was just gonna wonder about, with future payments to them, do we just wanna try to set up where they can swing by your office, or you have to swing by mine, however we can set it up, so we're not seeing this mail issue again, but maybe it won't happen again, I don't know.
Well, and even this one,
Yeah,
do they even want us to try to mail it?
right, just have them swing by your office. I mean, I would think they're local, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, it just seems like it's becoming kind of more the norm, where this delay is just taking days and days and weeks to get to mail a simple check. So, okay, maybe we can have Commissioner Jones reach out to him and see if that's an option for him.
Okay, I'll hold on to the check.
Okay, thanks, Wendy.
Mr. Chairman, back to Missouri River, at the Water Resource Districts Association meeting that took place during the summer meetings, there was talk about, there's an advocacy program through the Water Resource Districts Association, Water Users Association, where joint boards contribute a pretty large sum of money annually to that advocacy program, and that's managed through the Hanson Dwyer company. For instance, I think the Red River Basin contribution is 20 grand.
20, they're
Going
proposing
to
25.
25.
Right.
Service River Joint Board is going to be 10, if I recall correctly. Anyway, big numbers. The question was raised at the meeting by some of the eastern folks is, well, what about this Missouri River Joint Board? Why don't they contribute? I think we did a couple hundred of a nominal amount. So just kind of a notice that that's a discussion out there. Missouri River issues are becoming, I think, a bigger and bigger statewide issue, and justifiably so. So I think there's going to be pressure or suggestions that Missouri River Joint Board, and I shared this, and Mike was there too, and he shared some of that same thing, is that Missouri River Joint Board has not had a large operating budget historically. Will that change in the future? Maybe. Just so that people know that there's going to be some suggestions and maybe pressure to say, Missouri River Joint Board, why aren't you coming to the table for that part of it? Educate EAE kind of supplements that or replaces part of that, but there's still a lot of legislation that happens that EAE is just not in position to, quickly address that this other entity is, so.
Well, has Missouri River Joint Board had a formal request from them?
Well, they've contributed, so there was some dialogue there. I don't know how formal it was, but.
That must have been.
Yeah, what they've got now, and thanks Dennis for bringing this up, they're setting up a suggested due schedule. And the Missouri River Joint Board's been on this schedule as zero, from a request perspective. And it's changing, and it was interesting because the Red River Joint Board has a lot of stuff going on. I mean, they're very active. They got a lot of drainage issues. There's a lot of legislative issues. And these dollars go to support that advocacy for that type of an activity. So they're more than willing to put in, the dollar amounts that's necessary. But now they're starting to recognize, well, why would the Missouri River Joint Board be at zero? So they did, put in there a $2,000 request, and I think it looked fairly well balanced. But you're right, Dennis, as the Missouri River issues, things starting to come up, there's going to be more required by the advocacy group on their side, legislatively and otherwise, to move things forward, so that contribution's got to be there, or should be there.
And so, I mean, if that happens and, Missouri River gets a bigger operating budget, it's going to affect our budget too, because that'll, how that's going to get funded is through individual counties, so. And, just the other part of that discussion is it'll be a little more hot topic because it's kind of be the focus of the annual convention is Missouri River. The Upper Missouri Basin meeting is going to be concurrent with our annual meeting in December. So it'll be Missouri River focused. So just.
I'll pass that on.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Dennis. Along those lines, Chuck, anything from the summer meeting that you saw? You were able to attend last week, correct?
Yep, I did. Last Wednesday just attended the sessions that they had, and Just a lot of training sessions involved with that day and everything, and got some good information out of there. They talked about a lot of the legislative bills
Yeah.
that I've gone through and stuff as well there too, so.
Good.
And Michael was there as well,
Yeah.
attending.
Mike, anything of interest?
Generally speaking, it was a good meeting. I mean, there's background information. Obviously, the tour was the Devil's Lake outlet facilities and other things that were going on, so it was nice to see what was going on and hear some of the background of that.
Yeah.
The first time I was on a Devil's Lake tour, so the bus was full, interestingly enough. But there are a number of issues that come up. The one we talked about earlier with the Wells County Board and going to court and actually losing. There's issues with that. That's kind of the underlying purpose of some of those meetings, to say, hey, we're all having issues. There's similar issues, and if one goes through a particular scenario, we learn from the other.
Right.
So I thought it was a good meeting, good sharing of information.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Michael.
One other item, the State Department of Water Resources has issued some draft policies on permit reviews, and that it's on their website. The comment period for that is through basically the end of August. Well, I think September 12th is the due date of comments, but anybody can comment. Individual water boards, the water resource districts is I believe going to organize a joint comment document. But basically, it lays out timelines for permit reviews, completeness reviews, and so that's out there, available for comment.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think what's interesting on that is there were a couple legislative activities, bills that were put forth to mandate that to DWR. And DWR basically said, hey, wait a minute, let's talk about this in policy. Let's see if we can come up with something so it's not mandated, so that we can work with the water resource districts and others relative to that permitting policy. I've looked through the numbers. They appear to be relatively reasonable. They're probably a little more extended than some might want. But it's a first step in the process to, if you want to call it, avoid law and deal with it in policy,
Right.
which is always better, not unlike the comment period you're talking about here.
Yep.
It's policy, you can adjust it as needed rather than having it legislated and mandated. So,
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to other document and information that correspondence additional in your packet. There's some temporary water permits, and then in addition, there's one final plat in there too, that if you want to review that and take a look at that and provide any comment, you certainly can. Next item, approval of this month's bills.
Mr. Chairman, board members, on page 121 is a summary of those bills. As we talked about for the McDowell Dam Apple Creek Water Supply project, that easement was received, signed, and so we do have an addition to these bills to pay that utility easement at the amount of $29,700.00. So with that addition to the bills, the new amount would be $115,552.47.
Okay.
And math works out. I would so move approval for payment of the bills in that amount.
Okay, you got a motion?
I'll second.
Motion by Manager Reap, a second by Manager Smith to approve and pay this month's bills in the amended amount as Dennis laid out. Any discussion or questions this morning? Not seeing any. When you take roll call vote, please.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes, bills will be paid. Okay, in the remaining parts of your packet there, you have the detailed information from the billing for the month. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, August 13th in this room starting at 8 a.m. Everybody be present at that meeting. Okay, we can reach out to Commissioner Jones and make sure she's aware of that meeting. And if there's nothing else, any other business before the board, we are adjourned.